How do you convince good faith, otherwise progressive Zionist Jews who on this one single issue don't even adhere to their own worldview? I've seen this so much and I struggle to convince them they all live in a different universe. The only success I've found is to argue that a Jewish state is conceptually dangerous to Jews. Well, I wish if I had the solution to this, I'd be more famous than I am. I will say this. Usually, when people are making irrational arguments, and defending Israel if you are a believer in human rights is an irrational argument. It's contradictory. If you're dealing with a person making irrational arguments, they probably didn't arrive at those conclusions through rationality. They probably arrived at them because somewhere deep inside of them there is an emotional core. There's a deeply held belief, fear or a feeling of disgust that is driving them. They are making post hoc decisions or rationalizations for that fear or belief they already have. Now, in the case of Jewish people have a pretty justified generational fear with regards to their persecution from other states. You can logically argue that Israel is unsafe for Jews, which it is. You can logically argue America is safer, which it is. But again, logic isn't what you're getting at here. Unfortunately, for stuff like this, a person needs a good brain massage. You're not going to argue them out of it, I'm afraid, at least not in most cases. You need to sow the seeds of a different mindset in them, and it needs to take time to develop. There's no way to just on the spot argue it, with them. They need to have that fear addressed or changed or resolved or at least redirected in some way. And you can't just directly tamper with a person's emotions. It takes time for them to make those moves themselves. You have to guide that movement, but you can't direct it entirely. So that's not very helpful. And unfortunately, this is one of the limits of debate. This is why I've said before, when I debate someone on stream, my goal is not to convince the person that I'm debating. That's often good. I often hope that happens, but that's not the goal. The goal is to convince the audience. Now, directly arguing with a person is a really, really, really bad way of changing their mind because people tend to clam up when they're directly confronted. They look for more rationalizations to defend themselves, to root their position. But watching the argument happen from a distance, viewing the argument as a third party, gives them the opportunity to see counter-arguments to their positions in an environment where they're not being directly challenged. In that environment, with time, perhaps change can happen. Perhaps.